In the world of AI coding assistants, there's always been one name at the top. But what if a new challenger just stepped into the ring, one that doesn't just compete on features, but completely blows up the price point? We might be looking at a real David versus Goliath story here. Look, if you're a developer using any of the top-tier AI tools, you know the feeling. The power is amazing, no doubt. But those monthly subscription fees, they can be absolutely eye-watering. It really makes you stop and wonder, am I getting the best bang for my buck? And this chart, well, it pretty much says it all, doesn't it? Claude Code can set you back anywhere from 100 to 200 bucks a month. In Kimi Code, 19. Just $19. That's a 5 to 10 times price drop. This isn't just about saving a little cash. A price like this is meant to shake up the entire market. But it makes you ask the obvious question, right? What's the catch? Okay, so let's properly introduce the tool that's making all this noise. We're going to break down Kimi Code CLI, which comes from the Beijing-based AI company Moonshot AI. So what is it exactly? Well, Kimi Code CLI is an AI coding assistant that lives right where a lot of developers live, in the terminal. Its job is pretty straightforward: help you write, debug, and refactor your code. And here's a really important detail. Its command line interface is open source. That's a huge difference from its biggest rival. But hey, a great price and an open source CLI don't mean much without a powerful engine driving it all. So what's actually under the hood? What gives Kimi Code the confidence to go head-to-head with the industry leader? The brain behind the whole operation is Moonshot AI's latest and greatest coding-focused language model, the K2.6. This is the model that's been specifically tuned to handle the tough job of software development. Now, this is where it gets really interesting when you look at the specs. Kimi Code has a massive 1 million token context window. That puts it right on par with Claude, which is amazing for understanding huge code bases. It also supports the Model Context Protocol, or MCP, which means it can plug into the same ecosystem of external tools. So the underdog is really matching the champ blow for blow on these key features. But it's not a clean sweep. While its scores on coding benchmarks are good, they're still a little bit behind Claude's top-of-the-line Opus model. And that's a really crucial point for the reigning champ. But this is where Kimi Code pulls out its secret weapon. It's a feature that isn't just a small improvement. It's a totally different way of thinking about AI-assisted coding. It's called the agent swarm. So to really get why this is such a big deal, you have to remember how most AI agents work right now. You give them a complicated task, and they just start chipping away at it, one step at a time. It's just a single agent, processing your request in one single thread. It works, for sure, but when you're dealing with dozens of files, it can really start to feel like a bottleneck. Kimi Code, though, it doesn't just send in one worker to do the job. When the task gets big enough, it calls in the cavalry. And this is the game changer. It can deploy up to 100 agents, all working in parallel on different parts of the same problem. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a completely new way of handling huge coding tasks right from your terminal. So what does all that parallelism actually mean in the real world? Well, it means speed, incredible speed. Let's say you have a big refactoring job across 30 or 40 files. What might take a normal sequential agent about 45 minutes to finish, the Kimi swarm can get done in just 10. That's a 4.5 times speed up. Now, this feature isn't for every little thing, but for certain jobs, it is an absolute game changer. Just imagine telling the AI to generate unit tests for an entire directory of code. Kimi just assigns an agent to each file and boom, does it all at once. The same thing goes for huge, large-scale migrations or even reviewing an entire pull request with different agents checking different files for problems at the exact same time. All right, we've seen the price, we've seen the killer feature. Now it's time to put these two heavyweights in the ring, head-to-head, and see how they stack up across all the key categories. Let's line them up. In this corner, the challenger, Kimi Code CLI, and in the other corner, the reigning champion, Claude Code. Okay, let's go to the tail of the tape. First round, price. That's a knockout win for the challenger, Kimi, no question. Next up, open source CLI, another clear win for Kimi. Then we have parallel agents. This is Kimi's signature move, 100 versus Claude's 1. Easy win. Now, they're dead even on context window and MCP support. Both are absolutely top tier there. But then we get to the final rounds, code quality and reasoning. And this is where the champion Claude really shows its class. The consensus is that Claude's Opus model is still just flat out better in these critical areas. So here's the bottom line. It all boils down to a really clear trade-off. Kimi Code is the undisputed champion of saving you money and crushing bulk tasks with its parallel processing. But Claude Code still holds the crown when it comes to raw code quality and deep, complex reasoning. And all of this brings us to the final and probably the most important question of all. Based on everything we've just laid out, should you actually make the switch? You should seriously think about switching to Kimi Code if any of this sounds like you. You're spending more than $50 a month on AI tools, and you want to slash those costs. Or you're constantly dealing with big, repetitive tasks that would be perfect for parallelism. Or maybe you're just a big believer in open source tools. And here's an interesting one. If you work on code bases with a lot of Chinese language documentation or comments, Kimi's got a home field advantage. On the other hand, you should probably stick with Claude Code if you absolutely cannot compromise on code quality for your mission-critical work, or if your day-to-day job involves wrestling with complex architectural problems that need the best reasoning you can get. Or hey, maybe you just value the stability and bigger community that comes with a more mature product. But here's the real pro tip, and probably the smartest move for a lot of people. You don't actually have to choose. The ideal workflow might be to just use both. You could leverage Kimi Code's ridiculously cheap agent swarm for all your bulk operations, generating tests, refactoring, you name it, and save a ton of money. Then you just keep your Claude subscription for those really high-stakes moments that demand the absolute best reasoning money can buy. You really get the best of both worlds that way. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Kimi's agent swarm is more than just a neat feature. It might be a sneak peek at what's coming next for all of us. It makes you ask a much bigger question. Is this kind of massive, coordinated parallelism the future of how we're going to build software? It's a pretty wild idea to think about. Thanks for tuning in to this explainer.